I am making this video for viewing at a particular stage in the academic writing process. The title of this video is What Goes First? And so let me start by talking about, in writing an academic paper at the college or university, the research should go first. I have students every term who fall into accidental plagiarism because they are conducting their research while they are drafting their paper. And that is fraught with all kinds of dangers, from misidentification of citations or forgetting citations, forgetting quotation marks, picking up extra words from the text and not including them in quotation marks. That is fraught with danger. The good academic writer conducts the research first, takes good research notes. So every note you have is linked to the documentation source, so you know where you got that information from. And so now we're starting to draft the paper. As you pull from your research to incorporate research materials into your paper, you need to cite the source. So let me begin with this encouragement. While you draft your paper, and as you incorporate research materials into your paper, build your bibliography while you are drafting the paper. As you incorporate information from source A, B, or C, you move to the end of your document and document sources A, B, and C. In the Modern Language Association, there are a couple of pieces of information which MLA Handbook calls core information. There are 4 pieces. The first piece of the documentation process is the name of the author. So when we talk about what goes first, the name of the author is what goes first. What comes second in the Modern Language Association format is the title of the source, and if that source is contained within a larger document or container, we give the name of the container. As an example, a research article is published in a journal, so the title of the article follows the name of the author or authors. Title of the name of the author or authors, the title of the article, that goes in quotation marks. Then the name of the larger container or journal, the name of the journal goes in italics. In today's 21st century market, a lot of students are pulling their research materials from databases. That's an extra piece. You have the name of the author or authors. You have the title of their article in quotation marks. Then in italics, you give the name of the journal. And that may include the version, the number, the date of that particular journal. That's all important information for the journal because it's published on a periodic basis. So just giving the name of the journal is not sufficient. We need to identify which issue of the journal that article appears in. But if I'm taking that article from EBSCOhost or ProQuest or some other database, that's a larger container that includes the journals and other journals in the database. The name of the database then is also given in italics. The third core piece of information in MLA documentation is the publisher and the publishing date, or the date of publication. Some websites have specific dates. Some journals and newspapers have specific dates. Some magazines are weekly, some journals are monthly, some journals are quarterly, And so you want to give the name of the publisher and the name of the publication date. And then the fourth core element in MLA documentation is the location. Are you taking the information from a print book in the library? Are you taking information from a DVD or a video online? Are you taking information from a database? Are you taking information from an electronic HTML web article, in which case you would include the URL? Those are the four core elements in modern language association format for documentation of your sources on your bibliography. What goes first? The name of the author or authors. So, if there is one author, you give the name of the author, last name, comma, first name, period. You give the name as it appears on the document. So if the person has a middle name or a hyphenated surname, you copy it exactly as it appears on the published document. But you're going to put the last name first, comma, first name, period, because your list of documents on the bibliography are going to be listed in alphabetical order, so you'll alphabetize by the author's last name. However, the source may have two authors, in which case you're going to list the first author listed in inverse format. That is, last name, comma, first name, comma. For MLA, you're going to write out the word AND and then give the full name of the second author as it appears in the published document. We do not invert the last name of the second author because that is not part of the alphabetizing of the bibliography. We need the alphabetical last name of the first author. That's what we're going to be using to alphabetize the list. So with two authors, it's last name of the first author, comma, first name of the first author, comma, AND, and then the name of the second author. So far? Okay. Now we're going to get a little trickier. If there are three or more authors, Modern Language Association tells us that the first author listed is the name you put in your bibliography. Again, we're going to be alphabetizing the bibliography by author's name, so we will invert the first author's last name, comma, the first author's first name, comma, and then the Latin et al. That's et space al period. That's an abbreviation of the Latin et alabis, or and others, plural. So you're going to tell your reader that there are three or more authors on this particular document, but you're only going to give the name of the first author for your bibliography. Now, sometimes you will come across an article, particularly a web page or web document, where no author is given. This also occurs with some universities, it occurs with some national health organizations, it happens with government sites. The documents that are posted on their websites are put together by committee, and therefore no authors' names are given. So what goes first? If you have no authors' names, you start with the title of the article. The title of the article. In quotation marks, you're going to give the full title of the article. In quotation marks. In terms of alphabetizing the list, the title of the article may say, The Fundamentals of Physics. You're going to list it as The Fundamental Elements of Physics, but you're going to alphabetize it by the F in fundamental, not by the T in the. Same thing if the title starts with the letter A or an, you're going to include it in the title, but you're going to alphabetize it by the first important word. I know that's tricky. What I try to tell my students is, if there's no author, look for another source. But that's the case. If there is no author and you want that source, you're going to list it by the title in quotation marks and alphabetized appropriately. Now, go back into your document where you have incorporated the information from that document. Now, in your text, you need to provide a citation. Some students get confused as to what to put in the parenthetical citation in the paper. How do I cite the source in text to get the reader to the correct document on the bibliography? The answer is, what goes first? If the first thing you have listed is the author's name, using the last name to alphabetize your alphabetical list, then the last name goes in the parentheses. The last name of the author goes in the signal phrase, if you're using signal phrases. If there are two authors on the article, both authors' names go into the textual citation. If there are three or more authors on the article, the in-text citation begins with the first author's last name, et al., A-L period. If there is no author's name, MLA says to cite the title of the article in your text. However, Modern Language Association knows that there are some really long titles out there. And so, MLA says, in terms of a textual citation, what you put in parentheses is the first words of the title. You need to provide your reader enough information to go to your bibliography and find the document that you're using. Everything I've said is absolute and correct. However, sometimes you will have multiple documents that have the same author. So putting the name of the author in the text as a citation is not enough. The documents are still listed alphabetically by that author, and when the professor gets to your bibliography, the professor will see that there are multiple articles by that author. So what you need to add to your textual citation, in addition to the name of the author, is the first couple of words of the title. Enough information so that the reader can go from your textual citation to your bibliography and identify correctly which source you are documenting and citing in the paper. So the question is, what goes first? First, do your research and then draft. First, as you draft, build your bibliography. As you build your bibliography, what goes first? The name of the author. And so, in text, what goes in the parentheses? Whatever is listed first on the bibliography. I hope that is clear. I hope I've provided you with some good information. The idea is to remember what goes first. Thank you.